All right, big shout out to all the chingones out there, man. Welcome to Los Tres Chingones Boxing. I want to go ahead and talk a little bit today about how I became a big fan of Oscar de la Hoya in his career. We all know he has struggles today, but I'm not going to do like a documentary on him. I'm just going to talk about a little bit on how I became a fan of his. So basically, Oscar de la Hoya is for me, Los, as am I. Um, his career as a young man, I'm gonna be real. I was a kid and I didn't really know much about him, but there was talks. There was talks about this young kid, who's doing really good and had over 200 amateur fights and won the gold medal and all that stuff, right? But it wasn't really till he got into his professional career that things really started picking up. He really started getting noticed, at least for me, okay, not for anybody else, at least for me, when he fought Maromeo Paez. I think that was back like in 1994. So when that happened, Maromeo Paez, everybody knew who he was. The guy was very out there. He was very outlandish. He had quite the character going into the ring. And when he fought De La Hoya, I already had known who De La Hoya was. I might have seen a fight or two of his, but it wasn't until he fought Maromeo Paez that I was like, Orale, all right, man, now I know who this guy is. And I really started following his career like very closely. When he fought Carl Griffin and John Avila, John Molina, just to name a few guys, man, Daryl Tyson. But in all reality, if we're going to keep it 100% real, the fight that really got him up there, right? That really, like, it was the mega fight in his career, was back in June 7th, 1996, when he fought Julio Cesar Chavez for the WBC title at Caesar's Palace. I remember the build-up to this fight. It was everywhere. Everyone was talking about the build-up to this fight. And at that time, Julio Cesar Chavez was a legend. He was like a straight, boxing hero to the Mexicanos. And by the way, when I say he was, I actually meant to say he is. Till this day, I still think he's probably the boxing hero to the Mexicanos, man. And in my family as well, and everyone around the barrios, everybody, man, just loved Julio Cesar Chavez. And by this time, I already had became an Oscar de la Hoya fan. I was rooting for him. I did like Chavez. I was a fan of Chavez, but in this case, since they're going against each other, I was rooting for De La Hoya. And the thing was that most people that I remember were rooting for Chavez. It seemed like a lot of the females were kind of rooting for De La Hoya. I mean, he had a big following for the ladies, right? We'll kind of get to that in a bit, but I was a big fan of De La Hoya, right? Just kind of being from the same area and all that. I just like his fighting style. Not to say that I didn't like Chavez's fighting style, because I did, but I was just rooting for De La Hoya. Obviously, De La Hoya comes out with the victory, and then he goes on with his career, right? We all kind of thought like, okay, will there ever be a rematch? There was, but we'll get to that in a bit. But he went off to have some pretty good fights. Like on April 12, 1997, he went ahead and fought Sweet Pea, Pernell Whitaker. And this one was a little bit controversial. De La Hoya comes off with the win. It was a very close fight. Some people believe that Whitaker won the fight. Now, look, I know people are going to say that I'm biased. Honestly, I had De La Hoya winning the fight. However, I can't really put up much of a debate or of an argument because, yeah, I could definitely also make an argument that Whitaker won the fight. So there are fights later on in De La Hoya's career where I'm like, okay, you lost that, but they gave it to you. This one right here, I could kind of put it in the category. I'm not going to say that De La Hoya won this fight hands down. And like I said, I could definitely see somebody saying, hey, Whitaker won that fight, and here's an argument. And by the way, it'd be a really good argument because it was a very close fight. Entertaining fight too, man. I really like that one. September 13th, 1997, Hector Macho Camacho. Now, check this out. Hector Macho Camacho is of quite the character. He brings quite the personality, man. When you have Hector Macho Camacho, you better be ready for this charismatic just character that's just out there, homie. And, you know, this was no different. Obviously, De La Hoya comes out with the victory. Through all this time, De La Hoya had been undefeated. I kind of questioned a little bit of the things that he was sort of doing a little bit later on in his career. When he started doing, you know, the whole singing and stuff like that, it was just like, okay, what's going on here, man? Are you boxing? What's going on? He goes into doing some modeling and things like that. I mean, he was really blowing up, right? His career was really blowing up in and out of the ring, right? His popularity was really getting up there. And I was just like, kind of, I was taken by storm, like just how big this guy was becoming at that time, especially with the heavyweights really being on top of their game. They were starting to die out a little bit. The heavyweights were. It kind of seemed like the Lennox Lewis era was starting to enter, but nonetheless, De La Hoya was out there and he was doing his thing, man. And you know what? He was the man. He was a pretty big star. I'm not going to say he was the best fighter at that time or in his era because he wasn't, but he definitely was a big star. So obviously he's has the rematch, right? He steps into the ring with Chavez again, September 18th, 1998 at the Thomas and Mack Center in Vegas. And again, he beats Chavez. A lot of heat came back on Chavez from the first win. The second fight, it didn't really seem like there was as much hatred. I think most people kind of saw it coming. When we're talking about the first fight, when they first went at it, there was a lot of hatred that came back towards De La Hoya. A lot of people hated him for beating Chavez. Like I said, Chavez was and is still a legend. But for the second fight, it seemed like everybody just kind of knew what was going to happen, although there was still a lot of people rooting for Chavez. They really hated De La Hoya. They hated the fact that De La Hoya beat Chavez in a way that was kind of like, you know what, I'm taking the throne now. A lot of people didn't want to accept that. And whether accept or not, maybe that's the wrong word, because boxing is boxing. You don't really take the throne. You know, you just build your career and do whatever it is that you can with your career. And that's basically what was pretty much happening with De La Hoya. And through all this, you know, I'm following his career. I'm watching his fights. And not only that, he's an exciting fighter to watch. I'm not going to say every one of his fights were really, really exciting, but he was a pretty fan-friendly guy to watch. And he didn't suffer his first loss till 1999 when he fought Tito Trinidad, Tito Trinidad. From then on, he went off to have more losses. You know, Sugar Shane Mosley, Bernard Hopkins, obviously the Manny Pacquiao loss. But from there, I'm not going to say his career started spiraling down, because it didn't. He did have some good, meaningful wins against Ricardo Mayorga and Fernando Vargas when Vargas was stepping up to do his thing. And that's basically just how he became my favorite fighter. Until this day, he's still my favorite fighter of all time, probably just because I saw him growing up and being from the same area. I went to junior high school with his sister. I did not know his sister. I did not know her, okay? I didn't know her. She was a little bit older than I was. So it's not like we hung out and we're buddies or anything like that, man. That's not what happened. Obviously, we know how his career ended with Manny Pacquiao. He just completely destroyed Oscar de la Hoya, looking just like nothing. But I do want to say that de la Hoya went down in weight so much to make this fight, which is one of the reasons I respect him so much. The fact that he moved down, he dropped so much weight, and the fact that he will move up in weight. You got to remember, this guy fought Bernard Hopkins and he fought Manny Pacquiao. Think of those two weight classes. Now, some of these were catch weights, right? I think he fought Manny Pacquiao, I think like at 145 or 142 or something like that. Not all his fights were at the exact weight classes, but he would also be fighting at 154. He would also be fighting Bernard Hopkins. I think like at 158 or something like that. He would move up to make the big fights. He would move down to make the big fights. And, I definitely have to respect that, especially when you talk about boxers today that don't really move around in weight classes. They kind of just stick to their own, and that's about it. There's really no budging. This guy would move up quite a few pounds and he'd move down quite a few pounds just to make the big fights happen. It's a shame with the struggles that he has today, or not just today, but what the struggles that he's been having, even through his career. It's found out today that he's been having the struggles of drug addiction and all this, it's affected him in some pretty weird, strange ways, man. I think there's actually more going on with Oscar de la Hoya than just drug addiction. I think there was probably something in his childhood that he doesn't want to talk about. I have no way to prove any of that. I didn't hear any rumors or anything, but just seeing his actions, man, I just think something went on in his childhood that he's not talking about, and he's using it, he's drowning it out with alcohol and drugs, and it's sad to see because he is a Hall of Famer and he is a legend in the sport. But you know what? Where he's at today, man, it's hard to be a fan of his. I'm not a fan of his outside of the ring, obviously, because of the life he's choosing to live. However, I think he suffered from some demons that are probably haunting him from his childhood. And it's going to be very unfortunate if he allows those demons to take him all the way down to the grave. So hopefully he cleans it up, because he is a fighter that we can remember and really have some pride and say like, hey, man, this guy was a straight warrior in the ring and he did what he had to do. Move up in weight, move down in weight, win, lose, or draw. This guy always brought it. And I hope he gets his stuff cleaned up, man. And I hope he can become someone that I can respect outside of the ring. Inside of the ring, he's got my full respect. And I will always be a huge fan of Oscar de la Hoya inside of the ring. Outside of the ring, it's a different story, man. So that's how he pretty much became my favorite fighter, guys. I have a lot of fighters that I do, follow and everything, but De La Hoya was always my favorite fighter. So there you guys go, man. Here we are at Los Tres Chingones Boxing. Shout outs to all my chingones out there. Who is your favorite fighter of all time? Let me know, because this is mine right here. I gave you guys my reasons, but who is your favorite fighter of all time? I'll see you guys later, man. Shout outs to all my chingones out there.